back at the coast in Coimbatore for our annual adrenaline rush with, of course, Narain Karthikeyan and his game face on. Welcome to Autocar India Track Day 2026 powered by Nayara Energy. We've got some exciting cars lined up, V8s, we've got super SUVs, flat sixes of course, and we're going to find out how they stack up against last year's competition, where they stack up in the leaderboard. And if this is how it started, you can imagine what the rest of the day is going to be like. Narain, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready as always. I love this track days and now. Yeah.
And your favorite, the Porsches are here.
Has to be.
The 911, absolutely at home.
Yeah.
You've got the Taycan Turbo, which again, you've set a record with already.
Right.
There is the Ignis Levitas Cup car, 1 make series, stripped out interior.
Yeah.
That's obviously going to be your territory.
It's currently the backbone of Indian motorsport.
Yep.
Introduced a year ago.
Yeah. And then we have some oddballs as well. Mercedes-AMG S63
802 bhp.
with all the S-Class trimming, so you don't miss out on anything.
Right.
You got the RS Q8, a super SUV, 640 horsepower.
Yep. And we're going to try and beat the SUV lap record set by the Range Rover, I believe. So let's see how that goes.
Yep, absolutely. Big day ahead, but a very fun day ahead as well.
Other exciting stuff, and so we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Wow, that was insane. And that was Narain Karthikeyan with the 911 GT S. It's a hybrid now, over 500 horsepower, and of course, absolutely at home on track. But that's not all. We have this year an eclectic group of cars, starting with this, the Mercedes-AMG S63. A bit of an oddball. You don't really see S-classes out on racetrack unless they are ferrying the race car drivers. But this is the E-Performance, over 800 horsepower, and of course, all that AMG cred available in the tech. Then you have the Maserati in its GT, guys. 3-liter Nettuno V6, sounds beautiful, just as good as it looks. And of course, it's nice and low slung. So very good on the track as well. You've got, of course, the Porsche Taycan in its turbo, guys. Again, over 800 horsepower, rapid acceleration, and it's the only EV here, but it is very, very competitive. Then, speaking of competitive, we've got the Audi RS Q8 Performance, 640 horsepower. Very good on the racetrack. Of course, it's an SUV, it's a super SUV, it's big, it's heavy, but it can hold its own. That is definitely one car to watch for, because as Narain said, he's going to try and set a lap record for SUVs in that car. And of course, you have another SUV in the Maserati Grecale. Now this is the Modena, so it doesn't get the Nettuno V6, but it still gets a very potent 4-cylinder engine. Sounds really nice as well. You have an inline 6 from Affalterbach in the CLE 53 AMG Coupe. Lots of muscle, lots of cuts and angles. Looks very aggressive. And of course, 4-wheel drive, so lots of grip as well. Then you've got the twins from Volkswagen, the Golf GTI and the Octavia RS. As we know, both get the same engine, 2-liter, 265 horsepower TSI. But of course, this is a sedan, a lot more premium on the inside. This is a Golf, so an icon in itself. You've got the interior, which is really nice, and it's got that character, which is really lovely. And of course, it's a hot hatch, so it's going to be very interesting on the track as well. Then we come to the more affordable segment, the XUV 3XO in T-GDI, guys. 131 horsepower. This is the most powerful compact SUV in the market. You've got the Skoda Kylaq, the 1-liter 115 horsepower engine, 6-speed torque converter automatic. Again, Skoda pedigree, so handling is something it does really well. And we have the Citroen C3 X as well. Again, a turbo petrol engine that's nice and powerful in a light, small, compact body. But that's not all. We've got this, the 1 make series Levitas Cup, which has the Maruti Suzuki Ignis, stripped out interior. You've got a bit of fiddling with the exhaust as well. Sounds absolutely bang on, like a race car is supposed to be. It's on slicks. And well, this is going to be something to watch out for on the racetracks. So really excellent collection this time around. You've got a varied amount of performance, right from small hatchbacks all the way to super SUVs and some super luxury sedans as well. It's going to be a long day, but a fun one as well. I can't wait to get started. Narain is ready. Let's get ready to put some times on the lap.
While the cars are rigged up with timing and camera gear and prepped to Narain's liking, that's 4 psi up on manufacturer recommended pressures. Let's take a quick lap around coast. A lap around course begins with a short start-finish straight that gently runs downhill, helping build speed early. Turn 1 is wide, allowing multiple lines through the opening right-hander before a quick transition into Turn 2. Correct placement here is key for the long uphill run that follows. In fast cars, G-force is built through the 650 meter near flat-out turns 3 and 4. Braking precisely into Turn 5 at the crest is challenging, and the tightening double apex Turn 6 demands control. Turn 7 leads downhill before climbing again into Turn 8 and uphill right. This section mimics a mini Eau Rouge with dips and rises, but requires braking uphill for turns 9 and 10. Clean exits through 11 and 12 set up Turn 13 and the final complex. There's a key update this year too, the addition of curbs, helping define lines better and in places unlocking higher cornering speeds. But conditions aren't making it easy. Track temperatures soar past 60 degrees, punishing tires, brakes and the crew alike. This year's 13 cars take the total number we've had at course to 45. There will be some surprises on the leaderboard. The first car out is the Citroen C3 X. It's a car we've always liked for its strong 1.2-litre turbo petrol engine. In automatic gearbox form as we have here, it's smooth and usable, but CoASTT quickly highlights its limitations.
Has a nice motor, 1.2-litre turbocharged unit. Quite nice in terms of drivability, I would say. The automatic, of course, the transmission, it's quite slow to shift. Really not suited for the track. These tires are quite high profile. There's a lot of body roll, but it's okay. It's the true potential of the car should be, used somewhere else. The track really doesn't suit it.
A 2 minute 17.41 second lap time is a respectable pace for a fun crosshatch, but not much more. For comparison, the timing is identical down to the 100th to the Maruti Suzuki Swift from last year and better than the Tata Altroz Racer. However, there's quite a wide gap to the Hyundai i20 N-Line DCT on the leaderboard. Next up is the Skoda Kylaq, which is the most fun to drive compact SUV on sale. It's here this year in automatic gearbox avatar, and what's worth highlighting is that its 2 minute 11.54 second lap is almost identical to last year's Kylaq manual, showing the transmission hasn't dulled the Skoda's performance.
Yeah, the ease of driving it is much better with the automatic transmission, but it's a torque converter. It's not the lightning fast DCT upshifts and downshifts. You can't go too wrong with the handling of these Skodas. They stick like glue, and even for a car which is pretty tall, handles quite well. Minimal body roll. The engine runs out of breath quite easily. We were not getting high top speeds, and it just stayed in third gear for most of the circuit. They've done packaged it quite well in terms of in the dynamics at least, yeah.
The chassis can sure take extra power. Skoda, how about a Kylaq RS with the 150 horsepower 1.5 TSI engine? That would be mega. The Mahindra XUV 3XO is the most powerful compact SUV you can buy with its 1.2-litre turbo petrol engines, 131 horsepower and 230 Nm, outshining the Kylaq's 115 horsepower and 178 Nm. We were expecting a close fight between the two, but the Mahindra just doesn't come together on the track.
I mean, I don't know if it was meant to be driven so hard on the track. It felt really soft. Maybe the ride must be extremely nice, but forget it on the track. I don't think it's a good compare to any other vehicle out there today. And it didn't feel like 130 horsepower for some reason. Maybe, I mean, we tried to switch off all the electronics as much as we could and as much as it would allow you to do. Yeah, it was slow down the straight as well. It's like a rubber band. It's all just, slow and just stretching.
The Mahindra clocks a 2 minute 19.58 second time, a yawning 8 seconds off the Kylaq's pace. The XUV 3XO just can't match the Kylaq's pace across the lap, and top speed is also down on the Skoda. Tellingly, the Mahindra's lap time makes it the slowest car at the 3 editions of our track day at CoASTT. The Maruti Ignis bowed out recently, so it was fitting to have it at track day 2026 for one last hurrah. No factory spec Ignis was heard in the making of the lap time, because with us is the Levitas Cup Ignis race car. Stripped to 800 kilograms, running coilovers and JK semi-slick tires, it's a serious race machine. The remapped engine still delivers all of 92 horsepower, but this thing flies. It's a crazy sight to see Narain drive it by the scuff of its neck. It's the way the Cup car carries speed in the corners that stands out. The grippy little Ignis remarkably registers the highest apex speeds to T2, T10 and T13. Forget the Citroen, Skoda and Mahindra driven so far, because the 92 horsepower Levitas Cup Ignis' 2 minute 04.99 second time is in a different league, going quicker than the 204 horsepower Mini Cooper S JCW from 2025.
The Levitas Cup, this is the first time I drove here. It was introduced in 25 and it's really a nice fun car to drive, and I feel it will teach aspiring touring car drivers or aspiring race car drivers in a very affordable manner the art of racing, basically. The brakes are really nice, competition brakes. The gears are very long, but you use only third and fourth gear. I would say it teaches a lot in terms of what racing is, close racing is, in terms of racecraft, and the times are not too bad as well. So if you compare it to a heavily modified cars that run here, it's around 3-4 seconds slower. So it's very good.
Next up, we have the Volkswagen Golf GTI, a proper hot hatch. Headline numbers 265 horsepower and 370 Nm from its 2-litre turbo petrol engine. Power goes to the front wheels via a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. Sadly, the tires on a test car play spoilsport. It's come on Pirelli Cinturato all season, and this significantly affects performance. There's strong mid-corner grip, but the Volkswagen consistently loses time on entry and exit. Even Narain can't hide his disappointment.
In the corners, it's quite nimble, but it's tire limited. I feel a lot of understeer, and then when you switch off the traction control completely when it's off, then you have a lot of wheel spin from so inner wheel spin, so you get a lot of push understeer. But nevertheless, if you quite aggressive with the steering, then the tail comes out, which is quite nice. But yeah, overall very fast engine. On the speedo you got nearly 178 kilometers an hour. On this track, that's quite a fast. So it's not too bad. It sounds nice as well. I don't know if it's the new cars all have synthesized sound, but this sounds really top notch, and it has a lot of crackles and when you lift off the throttle, so it's very sporty in nature that way. Yeah.
The Golf GTI posts a 2 minute 01.92 second lap time. The time becomes the benchmark time for the next car, the Golf GTI's sedan-shaped cousin from Skoda, the Octavia RS. Both the VW and Skoda share their engines. The Octavia is 75 kg heavier than the Golf GTI, but the Skoda is on the right footwear, and it makes all the difference. The data reveals an interesting split. The Golf GTI is quicker at several apexes, but the Octi is more stable under braking and crucially gets on the par earlier and cleaner, especially at T1 exit and T6 entry, where it carries nearly 8 kph more. That's where the differences start stacking up. The Octavia RS laps in a 2 minute 00.70 seconds, over a second quicker than the Golf GTI's 2 minute 01.92 seconds.
This is running a proper, street, P0s, I believe, Pirellis, and versus all-season tires. So that was a big differentiator in terms of lap times. Of course, I think it's fantastic. Very strong engine, very similar to the GTI, or in fact the same engine, I believe. Car is slightly heavier, but on the fast flowing corners, just the sheer tire grip, had so much more cornering speed. Well, the Golf with the same set of tires would be slightly faster than the Skoda Octavia RS.
After the Skoda Octavia RS and Volkswagen Golf GTI, there was another 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder in the mix. It's just in a very different shape. The Maserati Grecale Modena marked Maserati's first appearance at our track day. Its 330 horsepower and 450 Nm give it a strong baseline, and that shows in the numbers. A 2 minute 02.33 second lap, 165.2 kph top speed, and healthy cornering speeds point to a car that's comfortable carrying pace. Narain, however, isn't so convinced.
I mean, it's again very, very difficult to say how this car is on the track. It's supposed to be a performance SUV, but it just feels like a very, normal, nothing too exciting. I think it's a bit on the softer side. So I suppose when you compare the Macan and so on, it should be, a good quality ride is what this car might be one of the good positive things about the car, but on the track it's so.
The Grecale Trofeo with its 530 horsepower Nettuno V6 would have likely been a very different proposition altogether, and that Nettuno engine in fact was represented on track here by another Maserati, the GranTurismo Trofeo. Its twin-turbo V6 produces 550 horsepower and 650 Nm, and that translates into a strong showing. A 1 minute 51.24 second lap that puts it right up there with the more focused Porsche 911 GTS.
So the Maserati GT, of course, it is Grand Cruiser, GranTurismo as they call it, Grand Touring, and you really don't expect the car to perform very well on the circuit, especially a fast one like we are in currently Coast. But the times were very impressive. So very punchy, very linear, very comfortable, and you feel quite a lot of roll. The seats don't blossom. The bolstering is not adequate enough, and you move around. But hey, you can't drive this on the track too much, but not flat out anyway. It's comfortable, it's nice, it's flowing, it's quite fast. Is it a track weapon? Certainly not, and we don't expect it. We never expected to be one. But overall, I still really like the car, and it's been a pleasant experience for sure.
The Mercedes-AMG CLE 53 is a sporty take on a luxury coupe. It uses a turbocharged inline-6 making 449 horsepower and 560 Nm, numbers that place it close to the Audi RS5 Sportback we had last year. On track, however, the Merc records a 2 minute 00.40 second lap, which is not only well off the RS5 but a tad off last year's S5 Sportback too. The spoiler here are the tires. The car came to us with 3 Accelera PH12s and 1 Michelin, a goof up that cost the CLE big.
Overall, the car, of course, it has the 6-cylinder engine, quite smooth, quite a nice power delivery. It doesn't feel like a AMG with the V8 sounding, the grunt and so on. So yeah, it's subdued that way. You have a lot of comfort to go from A to B and to rack up the kilometers. It's a really nice car, and of course Mercedes quality, you can't go wrong with it, and I think it looks quite funky as well. Lap times, forget it, because you can't talk about the performance of the car with these tires.
The other Mercedes in our midst delivers a very different AMG experience. The Mercedes-AMG S63E Performance flips the S-Class brief on its head. A 4-litre twin-turbo V8 paired with an electric motor delivers 802 horsepower and 1,430 Nm.
It has everything, and with so much luxury and the most comfortable rear seats in this premium segment of cars. I don't know what the end usage could be. Are you going to be driven by a chauffeur? Normally these cars are, and sit in the back seat, or it's something that once you drive it, you would always want to drive it. And it is extremely fast. And on the racetrack, for a heavy car like this to handle this well, I think there's some trick for sure.
The Merc's 191.9 kph top speed underlines its straight line strength, but in tighter sections the weight shows. It's the heaviest car with us today, tipping the scales at nearly 2.6 tons. The S63 manages a 1 minute 56.91 second lap that puts it close to last year's BMW M5, but still well off the ICE sedan benchmark, Porsche's Panamera GTS. The outright quickest sedan at coast so far, the all-electric Porsche Taycan Turbo S from 2024's event. While that Turbo S delivered a peak of 761 horsepower, the updated Taycan Turbo with us today goes 100 up with 884 horsepower of max power. The updated Taycan Turbo clocks a 1 minute 51.19 second lap, just about bettering the earlier Taycan Turbo's 1 minute 51.28 second showing in 2024. The new fastest sedan at coast carries serious speed in sections like T6 and also hits a 204.1 kph top speed, which is the second highest of the day. The low center of gravity helps grip and handling, but the 2.3 ton weight is always apparent.
Yeah, the only EV here, and it almost toppled the leaderboard. So, marks, the full marks for that. Very, very fast on a straight line, and you have so much torque, and everything that happens in a fast electric car happens in this well-packaged, a great platform. You really can't compare this to an ICE. They've tried to make it as close as possible to an ICE Porsche, but it's very difficult. The physics just don't allow it to be, because it's quite you're adding extra 700-800 kilos straight away, right? So that doesn't help for sure. But the braking is of course very, very challenging, and it just gets so heavy. It just get a lot of brake fade after a few laps. So I just did an out lap and a push lap. This is not for the not to push on the racetrack for sure, but nevertheless was very rapid.
Energy consumption is also high, dropping 10% charge in less than 8 kilometers of hard driving. Onto a more familiar shape and form of Porsche, the 911. The 911 GTS with us is electrified, but the hybrid system's job is to complement the engine that remains the star of the show. The 3.6-litre flat 6 that makes use of an electric turbo pushes 485 horsepower, while the 56 horsepower electric motor mounted at the end of the 8-speed PDK gearbox takes total power output to 541 horsepower and 610 Newton meters of torque. It's an easy car to go out and drive hard.
So the 911 platform is one of my favorite all-time cars. I wouldn't call it a track weapon, like it's grown a little bit heavier, but it's mightily fast on the straight. And I enjoyed it quite a bit, and it's it has an all-wheel drive system, but it still retains a lot of the 911 characteristics, so which is a very good thing. And they try to keep it as pure as possible. The feel from the steering, the dynamics of it all, I'm very biased towards the 911, so I just love this thing to bits. Compared to the non-hybrid 911s, you feel a little bit more mass in the apex of the corners, the braking and the high-speed corner, all of these things a little bit, because I believe to the standard Carrera, it's about 150, 155 kilos heavier, and it kind of feels that, you know, so you feel the mass, but a very, very fun car, very enjoyable to drive. It gives you a lot of satisfaction, and very, very easy for anyone to get in the car and, you know, straight away attack and push for a lap time on a closed circuit like CoASTT.
The 911 registers the highest top speed of the day at 204.96 kph and betters the Taycan Turbo's time with a 1 minute 50.55 second lap. That said, the GTS itself throws up an interesting subplot. Despite its 541 horsepower and hybrid boost, it's actually 1.7 seconds slower than the 394 horsepower Porsche 911 Carrera from 2025, which set a 1 minute 48.80 second lap. We theorized the Carrera's lighter weight, around 125 kg less, and its rear-wheel drive setup give it an edge in agility and braking. Track conditions and slightly worn tires on the GTS could have a role to play too. But fast as the Porsches are, neither of them is the fastest car of the day. Drum roll please. Topping the charts at Autocar India Track Day 2026 is the Audi RS Q8 Performance. The Audi RS Q8 Performance's 640 horsepower V8 is backed by all-wheel steer, active anti-roll bars, and a rear sport differential, and it shows. The RS Q8 bellies its size and 2.2 ton weight, stays glued to the track, and allows Narain to stay committed through the lap. The Audi crosses the finish line in 1 minute 50.43 seconds, just a hair's breadth quicker than the 911 GTS 2.
It is the fastest ever SUV around the coast track, so yeah, what can you say? It just brakes well, you know, for the height, the CG, it's quite high up, but it still runs very flat. And just to put it in comparison, it's, you know, compared to the Range Rovers, the SV and all the performance SUVs, it's leaps and bounds in front. And to drive, it's quite easy actually to drive. You know, it's a very neutral handling car. The four-wheel drive system doesn't give you understeer, and when you want the car to rotate more, you can, you know, go hard on the pedal. There is traction and a little bit of, you know, tucking into the corner. So I definitely didn't expect this car to be this fast. Yeah, the V8 twin turbo is very drivable. There's not much turbo lag, very linear and very fast. You get really, you know, pushed back in your seat, and you can feel the acceleration. So you take all the big brands, the Porsches and you know, the Range Rover, other SUVs. It just, you know, went so much faster, so much ahead of the competition right now. Well, it's an extremely hot day today, nearly 60 degrees of track temperature and 38 ambient, and it didn't go into any, you know, limp mode. Normally these big heavy cars, they don't like the track during this season with this temperature, but no dramas. It's and I love the styling as well, and it's, you know, it looks kind of very aggressive and it drives aggressive, and I feel that this is like a, yeah, really awesome piece of machine.
The run makes the RS Q8 the fastest SUV at coast. Incidentally, the Manic Audi is also the current SUV lap holder at MMRT and Curry Motor Speedway. So there you have it, the fastest car at Track Day 2026 is an SUV. The RS Q8 joins the leaderboard at P8. Here's a quick look through all the cars at the 3 editions of Autocar Track Day at coast. See you again next year.